Welcome to the room. My name's Dave. I'm the moderator for this room. Today we've got Tirza Sanders here. She's going to be talking about teacher education, post degrees. Yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Tirza.
David, do you think that should I wait a second? Will there be more people or should I just get started?
I'd say get started. We're semi-mid rotation, like a couple minutes,
Okay.
into one.
Hi, Cassandra. Welcome. My name is Tirza Sanders, and I'm the program manager for teacher education. I was just wondering what kind of education you had, if you're working on your associates or you already have a bachelor's, or where you were at.
I just started working on my associates for elementary education at Pima.
Oh, great. Okay, so this is for the post-bac program, but I can still talk about the elementary program as well. So for the elementary program, I'm sure you've met with Donna Kahn, who has talked to you about that. So you would do 2 years and complete the Pima program and then transfer to the U of A, ASU, NAU, or another college to get your 2 more years to get your elementary teaching certification. And then here, let me share my screen here. There we go. So at Pima, we do offer a post-bac program. So if you end up going and getting your elementary teaching certificate from another university, or if you change majors, but then decide you want to come back to teaching, you can always enter our program afterwards. And one thing that could be interesting is if you get your elementary teaching certificate from one of the big 3, is to come back for that mild moderate endorsement, which you can get here as well. So some of the reasons, what are some of the reasons that you wanted to become a teacher?
I like working with kids, and then now I'm a stay-at-home mom to an almost 2-year-old, so she's going to be going into school, and I got to think about afterwards to, and be able to help her with her homework and my nieces and nephews and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like perfect timing. So right about the same time she would be going into elementary school, then you could start teaching at an elementary school and possibly be in the same place with your daughter. A lot of teachers, have that same idea that teaching, mirrors their children's schedule. They get to have the holidays the same as their children. They like children and they want to make a difference in their lives. And it's also a really stable job with good benefits, despite the pay being a little lower for someone who has a bachelor's degree. You'll never be without a teaching position. If you want one, there's always teaching openings, especially in elementary. It's really high needs right now. That's not the same in every state. Some of the Midwest doesn't have as much elementary openings, but Arizona has a ton of them. And so you really should be able to get a job easily once you get certified as an elementary teacher. So some of the things that people find challenging about teaching is just the amount of time kind of spent outside the classroom, creating lesson plans and keeping up to date with new educational pedagogy. Sometimes the lack of resources in certain elementary schools that's just underfunded a bit. And so, having to spend your own money or become really resourceful to get those in-classroom items that you want for your students. These are some of the things that teachers do other than teaching, and because you're in the education program, you've probably learned about a lot of these things. Planning lessons and grading assignments and meeting with parents, doing recess and after school tutoring and coordinating with other specialists like special education and ELL and counselors, and just caring for all of your students' social, emotional, and physical needs. Teachers definitely aren't just, teaching arithmetic and reading nowadays. They're really caring for the whole child. And studies show that an effective teacher really, really is impactful on students. Somebody who's got positive expectations for student success and is a really good classroom management and knows how to design those lessons for student mastery It's been shown that effective teachers are shown to have 29 to 45 point increase on test scores. So if an average student is about 50% and they get an effective teacher, they can raise to the 79th or 95th percentile. And then, you know, it definitely combines if these students can get effective teachers for multiple years, sustains them throughout their student's lifetime. And also through wages, that's shown that if you get a successful teacher and several in a row, those students have increased wages throughout their lifetime, like several thousands of dollars. So think back to your most memorable teachers, and what did they do, you know, to support you, and what made you like their class. Did you have an elementary school or a high school teacher that made you want to get into teaching, or?
I have like a good few teachers that I remember, but I think just from my experience going into the workforce, I've always kind of trained others, become kind of like a subject matter expert, you know, in whatever I'm doing. So I enjoy teaching and like coaching and like mastering something. And then with kids, yeah, I want to make it a creative, like fun space, because I know if you don't have a good teacher, it doesn't really motivate you as a child, you know, to keep going.
The fun thing about elementary students too is they're so adoring to their teachers.
Yeah.
You know, they just have so much love for them. And so, you know, some things you learn in the program are how to do those lesson plans. And the other one is classroom management. A lot of teachers, I think a lot of people, because everyone's been educated, everyone's been in school most likely, they feel like, oh, anyone can teach. It's no big deal. You just go in there and wing it. Whereas no one would think that, you know, just because they had their appendix taken out, that they could, you know, become a surgeon and take out other people's appendix. And so we do teach in the program, you know, how to do that classroom management, how to do lesson planning. And, you know, some people think you just jump in there on the first day and start teaching phonics or reading, whereas really the first week is about getting to know your students, getting to know their names and who they are, and sharing and forming that bond with them, and then teaching the rules and classroom procedures that really, you know, make your classroom a consistent, safe place for effective learning. Here's just a lesson plan example. So the amount of work that goes into kind of creating these lesson plans, learning targets and instructional strategies, and what you're going to do for bell work. Nothing is really, no one's winging it. In any teaching, if they're an effective teacher, they've really planned ahead and have, you know, some guidance throughout their day. We have a teacher shortage here in Arizona. There's over 100 empty classrooms every year in Tucson, and then thousands around Arizona. There's really high needs in math, science, special education, but also elementary, I'd say, especially for English language learners. A lot of teachers are scared off because they think, oh, I don't speak Spanish, but we have a really diverse community here in Tucson. A lot of students are speaking Arabic, Vietnamese, and Spanish, and you don't need to speak those languages to be able to teach English language learners because you're teaching them English. Teaching is also a state you can take to any state, country, or another occupation. So those teaching certificates that you'll get in Arizona are transferable as long as you've completed student teaching. Then they're transferable to all different states, and then also to different occupations. Like you said, you always end up kind of being the trainer in the workforce that you've been in before. And so Google, Facebook, you know, IBM, they all hire teachers as trainers and educators in their programs too. In our program, you can get hired as a full-time teacher while you're still enrolled. You can get it under an alternative teaching certificate. You know, so if you graduate with your bachelor's degree in education and you ever want to take a special ed job or come back, we can always get you that alt cert so you can be highly qualified to teach in the area while you're getting your endorsement or certification to teach the subject area that you've been hired in. It's kind of different in the post-bac that you can teach really before you even take the classes, just while you're taking the classes. So some of the things you need to enroll, which will be the same probably for your bachelor's degree, just having that IVB fingerprint card, you probably already have one, and passing those elementary education subtests 1 and 2, which is the subject matter that you'll be teaching the littles, math and science and social studies up to 8th grade. And then we have the Arizona Teacher Academy grant, but also when you transfer to one of the universities, if you go to U of A, ASU, or NAU, they all have the Arizona Teacher Academy. So when you transfer, ask them about it, because if you can get in, it'll pay all your tuition and fees. And then once you graduate, you'll have to teach for 2 years after graduation in any Arizona public school, and then you won't have to pay back any of that money. So all of the big ones have it. Great, so if you have any questions, then I can answer them.
No, I think I'm good. You were really thorough, some good information.
Oh, thanks for attending, and good luck in your elementary certificate.